right, today we're going to spend some time reviewing combining like terms, like term equations, the distributive property, and again, how you apply those to equations as well. So you should see this organizer in your packet. It's called Combining Like Terms, Distributive Property Equations Review Study Guide. So we're going to go through some problems of each type that you can expect on your upcoming quiz. All right, so let's take a look at combining like terms. So like terms, again, are terms that have the same variable and raised to the same power. So if we take a look at this first example here, we have 4x minus 7 plus 2 plus 3x. And again, terms are just kind of those individual values that are lined up in a row. So we have a 4x, negative 7, positive 2, and a positive 3x. So looking to put like terms together, we've got two x boxes. 4x plus 3x gives us a total of 7x. And we're using the signs that we see with those terms. Looking at the other two terms up in those boxed expressions here, we have a negative 7 and a positive 2. Those are also just kind of regular integer numbers, so we can put those together. So if you need to grab your calculator, by all means go ahead. And again, we're looking at using the exact signs there. So when we put negative 2 or negative 7 plus 2, we get negative 5. And when I write that answer down, that negative 5, this negative sign then acts as a subtraction. So you're just putting like terms together. We can't go any further than this because they are not like terms. All right, so if you're joining us on video, I'm just going to go ahead and give you two more game questions that we can take a look at. So for the first one here, let's do, let's say 16 minus 7y minus 8 plus 5y. All right, so looking at those box terms, you should notice that we have y's I can put together. So we have a negative 17y and a positive 5y. Those are my y terms. So when I put those two together, negative 17 plus 5, by all means use a calculator if you need to, guys, you get a negative 12. So negative 12y for the y terms. Looking at our other terms here, we have a positive 16. And we have a minus 8. So 16 minus 8 gives us a positive 8. Now, again, if we're using our calculator, you're going to get just a positive 8. But I want you to be careful that you don't just write down your 8 and move on, because I need a connector in between there. So again, when it's the second term in line, if it's a subtraction, it acts like a minus, easy peasy. But when it's a plus, we need to make sure that we're also putting that plus there so we don't lose it. So that would be our final answer. And for your quiz tomorrow, you're also going to see some fractions, so don't panic. Same operation, so if we had the expression 4 minus 1/2 x plus 3/5 x minus 8. So if we take a look at this one, again, hopefully you can see there that we've got two x terms that we can put together. And we're taking the signs up front, so that is a negative 1/2 and then plus 3/5. And guys, when you're putting those in your calculator, remember to use parentheses. So parentheses negative 1 divided by 2 would be that first fraction. We're going to add to it 3/5. So plus 3 divided by 5. I get a decimal. Since I had fractions, we're going to want to turn it back into a fraction. So that would be a 1/10. And don't forget to put your x there. Easy to do, to forget since you're doing the computations in your calculator. So just make sure to glance back on what you're putting together. 4 and then a negative 8. Those are also like terms. So 4 minus 8 gives us a negative 4. And when I write that as my second term, that negative turns and acts like a subtraction. So you are going to have like terms, just combining like terms expressions on your quiz. And they're going to be broken down into sections just like this. So you're going to do 3 combining like terms. Then we're going to look at equations. Same skill applies as far as putting terms together. But what I want you to notice is that there's an equal sign here. So the first thing I kind of like to do is draw that vertical line. And then when we look at solving equations, I always say to you, look at the side with your variable. That would be over here on the left. Now in this problem, we do have like terms that we can put together. You should notice a negative 10x, a positive 5x, and then we have a regular negative 12. So we're going to go ahead and combine like terms, given those colors there. So the x terms, negative 10 plus 5, that gives us a negative 5x for the yellow terms. And then that green negative 12 doesn't have anybody to combine with, so it's just dropping straight down. And then we finish out our equation and write equals 18. From there, two-step equation, guys. We have a negative 5 being multiplied with x, and then we have this minus 12. We always get rid of the minus 12 first. The addition, subtraction. In this case, it was subtraction. So we're going to do opposites to get rid of it, meaning that negative 5x just drops right down. There are my opposites that cancel, my equal sign along the line, and 18 plus 12, 30. Solving from there, again, this is a negative 5 being multiplied with x, so we're going to go ahead and divide to get rid of it. Opposites cancel. We get x equals negative 6. All right, taking a look at another example here, we might have a problem where, go ahead and get this written. Actually, let's turn this into subtraction here. So we have 8x minus 5x equals negative 27. So again, here's my vertical line, focusing in on my side with the variables. I notice both of them are x's, 8x minus 5x, so they're both like terms I can put together. So 8 minus 5 gives me 3x. And then we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of our equation. So there was our combining like terms in that problem. From here, if I look at my equation, it's actually a one-step equation. I have a 3 being multiplied with my x. So to get x all by itself, which is the goal of an equation, we're going to do the opposite and divide, which means those cancel. We're left with just x. Negative 27 divided by 3. Throw that in your calculator. Maybe you know it's x equals negative 9. All right, taking a look at the next one here. So we'll put another example up. Try 3x plus 11 minus 7x equals negative 37. All right, so same kind of idea. I'm going to draw my vertical line. I notice that it's an equation. Looking on the left-hand side, I've got some things I can put together. You should notice that you have two x terms, 3x and a negative 7x. And then I have this regular plus 11. So putting together those terms, my yellow terms there, 3x minus 7x gives us negative 4x. And then we have a plus 11. That's going to come down. Equals negative 37. From there, this plus 11, we have a two-step equation. We have a plus 11 and a multiplication of negative 4. So we're going to get rid of that plus 11 first. And we do that by subtracting. So we've got negative 4x just drops on down. My 11s cancel. That's my opposites. Negative 37 minus 11 more. When you put that in your calculator, negative 37, it's a minus. So we get a final answer over there of that computation of negative 48. From there, again, this negative 4 is being multiplied with my x, so we're going to go ahead and divide to get rid of it. And we get x equals 12 for this last one. All right, so again, like I mentioned, you're going to have combining like terms just by themselves, combining like terms in equations. Okay, the other skills that we looked at this week are the distributive property, and then how we apply that to equations. So taking a look at this first box here, we have 3, and distributive property is very distinctly categorized by those parentheses that are grouping more than one term. And what that means is that we're then going to do 2 simple multiplication problems and put our answers next to each other. So we're going to take that 3 and first multiply it by the x. 3 times x gives us 3x. And then we have that 3 and we're going to multiply it by the back term, which in our case is a positive 2. So 3 times a positive 2 gives us a positive 6. But again, guys, same as before, even with combining like terms, make sure you're putting those connectors in there. From there, I can't do anything else. They're not like terms. I can't put them together. I'm not solving. There's no equal sign, so you're just done. All right, let's take a look at another one here. Let's say I have 5 and then 2x minus 3. All right, same idea. Distributive because I have a single term out front being multiplied with more than one term in the parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and do our first multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10, and that x just comes along for the ride. When we do that second multiplication, I always try to stress that we're taking the sign also with it. So for the second multiplication problem, we're going to do 5 times negative 3. which gives us a negative 15 answer. And the good part again, guys, when we put a negative down in the row, it then acts as a subtraction. So our signs and connectors are all there. So just be careful with that that negative in here, that you're using that when you're multiplying. Okay, last but not least, we also talked about some ways, sometimes you're going to see it a little less traditional. With a term out there to the left or to the right hand side, you are free, again, like I mentioned before, to take that out and put it where we like it. We can move it to the front because our multiplication property tells us that that's okay. So if that helps, by all means, take it, move it to the front, and then proceed with your multiplying. So 3 times x, 3x, and then 3 times a positive 4 plus 12. All right, so there will be distributive property expressions there where you just have to do your multiplication and write your simplified answer. Then we also applied them to equations, which again, same kind of process. The only difference, you see that equal sign in there, so it might be helpful to draw that line. Looking at where our x is, it's here on the left, and those, again, those parentheses should red alert you to say, hey, I need to distribute first. So we're going to go ahead and distribute on the left, 2 times x. So 2 times x, 2x, 2 times a positive 3, positive 6, and then we're going to go ahead and rewrite the rest of our equation, equals a negative 12. From there, that positive 6, that blue positive 6, we're going to undo that first. We're going to subtract it. 2x just drops down. My opposites cancel. Negative 12 minus 6 more gives me negative 18. From there, this is multiplying with my x, 2 times x. So we're going to divide to get rid of it. Our opposites cancel. We're left with just our x. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. All right, 2 more, guys. So we have, let's try 3 times the quantity 5 minus x equals 10. So again, it's an equation, so drawing that line down the equal sign could be helpful. Distributive here on the left, 3 times 5 is 15. Our second distributive here, we have 3 times a negative x, that's like a negative 1x, so 3 times negative 1 gives us a negative 3, because again, we're going to take that sign with it, and our x comes down, equals 10. From here, this is a little bit trickier for one. We have a positive 15 and then a negative 3 that's being multiplied with our x. So sometimes I think the colors do help here a little bit, that the negative is kind of attached to the 3, even though we're tempted to say minus, and it is kind of minus. But we want to think of it as attached to that 3, which is being multiplied with my x. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 15 first. We're down to a 2-step equation. 15 minus 15 cancels. That negative, you can see it real nicely there with the blue. It travels down with our x. 10 minus 15, negative 5. And from there, again, we talked about how this is being multiplied with our x, so we're going to divide to get rid of it. And we get x equals, now if we put 5/3 negative 5 divided by negative 3, we do get a repeating decimal, so we want to make sure that we're turning that back into a fraction. So that math button, enter, enter. And really, the only thing we could do is get those 2 negatives out of there. They make a positive, and our answer there is 5/3. So occasionally you will have a fraction. I will say there will be one fractional answer on your quiz, so don't panic. Stay calm. Okay, last example here. Let's say 2 times x plus 7 equals 10. Keep it simple here for the last one. All right, so again, equation. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge it's an equation. Again, sometimes I do that by drawing that vertical line. 2 mini problems, 2 multiplication problems here on the left-hand side because we see those parentheses, which tell us we need to multiply. So 2 times x, 2x. We have 2 times a positive 7, which is a positive 14. And then we're going to go ahead and rewrite the rest of that equation when I come to that vertical line, which equals 10. From there, 2-step equation, I have a 2 being multiplied with x and a positive 14. So we're going to get rid of that positive 14 first. 2x comes down, cancels. 10 minus 14 is a negative 4. From there, last step, guys, this 2 is being multiplied with my x, so we're going to get rid of it by division. That is my opposite operation, and you get x equals -2.